live for more on this game. Let's get to the Domino's pregame headquarters and more than Adam, guys.
And thanks, Sam. And we get Jalen Hurts and Brian Daboll. What's the connection? 2017, Brian Daboll spent a year as the offensive coordinator at Alabama. Jalen Hurts was a starter. But there's no secret there was a little bit of tension in that situation because Tua Tagovailoa was a freshman on that team. They won the national championship. Tua threw the game-winning pass. But bottom line is Jalen Hurts was very frustrated. He wasn't allowed to throw the deep ball more, and now he leads the NFL in plus 20-yard air yards for completions and touchdowns.
And Mort, speaking of Tua Tagovailoa, let's go back to the 2020 draft class where Tua and Justin Herbert were picked one pick apart. They'll square off tonight in Los Angeles in prime time. But take a look at some of the quarterbacks from that draft class. It's starting to look like one of the great all-time draft classes for quarterbacks. And again, we'll get to see how Tua and Justin Herbert square off tonight in LA. Meanwhile, the NFL cracking down on teams faking injuries. It imposed a $50,000 fine to Jesse Bates for this act right here as the Bengals defenders running onto the field. Jesse Bates goes down with a mysterious injury, walks off the field just fine. But when you take a look, he's standing in the huddle. Now, yesterday, the NFL fined the New Orleans Saints $350,000, the head coach $100,000, the co-defense coordinator Ryan Nielsen, who told Cam Jordan to stay on the field $100,000 and Cam Jordan $50,000. You see him go down, you see Nielsen stick out his hands to say, hold on. The Saints felt like they had timeouts. If they wanted to slow down the clock, they could have used one of their own timeouts when they essentially had to lead the way they did, and all parties will be appealing the fines, but the NFL clearly sending a message to everybody across the league that it doesn't want any player or any team even attempting to fake injuries.
I mean, if you're going to do it, we at least need some acting lessons because that first one was pretty rough. Matt, what are your thoughts on what we just heard there?
The guys have been doing this forever. I mean, defensive guys, you're oddly silent over there.
Well, I mean, the one in
Look
Cincinnati,
at this one right here, Matt.
Bates the safety, that's pretty bad. Okay, that one right there.
Okay, Sam, to your question. I don't put this on the players because this is what you always have been coached to do. I see the league is trying to change what we've always done. Like on teams that I was on, the coach on the sideline would have a signal. He would like shoot a guy, you know, being like, hey, you're the guy, go down. Like, we need to get nickel off the field, goal line on the field, or maybe, you know, they've just got momentum. They've got tempo on their side. We don't want to waste a timeout. This is something that coaches have been doing for a long time. The league has warned them, and coaches clearly didn't listen. And so now they're saying, hey, give me your money. And now I think people will start paying attention.
Why should Cam Jordan rush off the field when he twisted something there? I mean, no, when he got up, he had a little bit of a limp, and yes, he started to walk off, okay? Why should I hurry off when I'm hurt? Why don't I just go down? Why don't I just go down? Sure.
Are you really doing this with a straight face?
It's been done before. I'll just say that, okay? We didn't have any signals or anything like that, but if we had any type of cramp or anything like that, we're going to go down and just give us more time because these offenses always try to substitute a certain way. So what do we have? What do we have to do? All right, I'm just going to go down. I'm going to go. Now, Jesse Bates, go ahead and find him. But that
was rough.
No, don't find him. Do not find him.
Yeah.
Do not find the player. Do not find the player. The player is doing what his boss is telling him to do. The player is just doing what he is coached to do.
Yes, find the head coach, Rex.
Rex would never. He would never do that.
I don't recall. I don't recall having anything. I tell you what, honestly, though, you know, yeah, I mean, I'm not getting back in. So, yeah, I had some stuff. But we had, and one of the reasons we did it was we had teams like, there was a certain team, all right, New England, that would run guys on the field, like around the goal line. They would run their goal line team about halfway out on the field, and as soon as they saw me substitute, I'm running my goal line team in, they would go to the sideline. Like, they're running like this, and they go to the sideline, and then that team would, they go over the ball and things like that. I've got my goal line team running in and things. I'm like, wait a second. I know Belichick wants me to use a timeout or whatever, and I'm like,
different guys in the game.
We're going to take it.
Eddie, you are a good
Changed our mind real quick.
Sam, to your point,
Yeah,
this isn't just something that teams do in games.
Right.
You literally practice this as a defense.
Not anymore, I guess.
You literally practice this situation. Like,
Never
to think that this
practiced
is
it.
like,
Never
oh, a player
practiced.
just
Did I tell the
Never
It was
practiced.
innate. Tell us.
Never
All right,
practiced.
I had a story. I had 2 kids. They were best friends. All right, they work out together. They were super close. I mean, these guys were really brothers. They really were brothers. And so we had a thing. He said, I go down. We call it lobster. And the guy, boom,
why-
he
why-
goes
why do
down.
you call it lobster?
Because the guy was from Maine, okay? So you guys can figure it out. And so he's
New
down
England
there, and he's like cramping up or something like this. And his buddy, I forgot to tell him, he was a tight end. He comes running over there, and these guys are super kids, very religious guy, and he's like over him. I'm like,
He's praying.
He's praying on the guy.
and the whole team's like, oh my gosh, it was beautiful. But at the time, I'm like, oh no. I'm
You didn't
sorry.
tell his best
Come here,
friend?
kid. No, I was like, he's okay.
got a prayer circle
he's
going.
okay. That's on me. I felt bad, but at the time, I was like,
Why you don't cry
the whole
wolf?
team was
Why
like,
you don't cry wolf, Rex?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was bad.
trust issues. Don't worry, Rex.
It was
There's
not
no,
practice.
there's no retroactive
Mike
finding for
DeVito,
that.
That was
Here,
practice.
I'll-
That was
calling
practice.
you both out.
I
I
will-
love
not
you,
practice.
I will wrap us
both
up
of
with
you.
this. Just don't be wrong, NFL, and find somebody who actually did end up getting
Don't cry
hurt.
wolf.
That could get ugly. All right.
Hold on.
We're
Cramp.
being told to move on to the AFC playoff
I should
picture.
have cramped on my open.
The top of the AFC playoff picture is getting crowned after the Bengals win over the Chiefs last week. KC's tied with the Bills for the best record in the conference, and Buffalo has the tiebreaker. Even though since he's currently a wild card, they're only 1 game back for the top spot. Here's Joe Burrow on what still makes the Browns a tough opponent today.
We have Myles Garrett. That's different from everybody else. He just presents so many problems to you because he can win at the line of scrimmage. He can win late. He's fast off the ball. He's just so disruptive in everything that he does. He's a great player. Division games are always like that. They're always, a little more intense. You always focus on them a little bit more just because of, the history and how many times you play these guys every year.
Matt, I seem to be getting hot at the right time. What are you seeing out of Joe Burrow?
So hot. The dude has no flinch in him, like none. It doesn't matter.
He's a good-looking guy. It's fair.
Listen, the style, the swag, I just feel like his confidence permeates through the entire team, to the wide receiver group, the guys up front. The offensive line's playing a heck of a lot better than they did last year, all the way down to the kicker when it's time for a game-winning kick. But you just talk about T. Higgins, just one guy. T. Higgins would be the best receiver on a bunch of teams in the NFL, and because he's teammates with Jamar Chase, he happens to be the second best receiver probably on this team. But their slot guy, Tyler Boyd's awesome. This is a team that is getting hot at the right time. We always talk about the real football starts after Thanksgiving. They're playing great football right now.
That quarterback mentality, how he holds himself, the person that he is, it just resonates throughout the entire team, okay? How many times have we talked this year about who the quarterback is and then the team being inspired by them? Joe Burrow really hasn't done, what has he done in the NFL? I mean, you've taken him to the Super Bowl and lost, and he's got no world championships in his back pocket, but he walks around like he does.
Yeah.
And I freaking love it about this guy because you got guys that know they have him playing quarterback, and when Mixon goes down, Samaje Perine comes in and he plays, okay? Jermaine Pratt. I mean, these aren't the Pro Bowlers, all pro type of guys, but these are the guys that are making plays in big time situations, and I'm telling you, it's because they know who's playing quarterback, and that Bengal team is very confident, and the way they hold themselves, man, best team in the AFC
Don't-
right
don't-
now.
Joe Burrow knows
plays
where
very
he's
well.
going, doesn't
Don't
he?
sleep on.
he does.
Don't
Like
sleep on him as a runner either. He's a sneaky runner as well.
The team that has a similar feel about their quarterback as the team that the Bengals beat last week, that would be the Chiefs. They have the Broncos today. So, Rex, do you have concerns for the Chiefs after what you saw last week?
See, I actually do have concerns because, Sam, look, the 3 teams that I know they have a chance to play in the playoffs, they've struggled against. You mentioned the Bengals last week. Obviously, they got beat by them. Well, how about when they hosted Buffalo? Well, they got beat by them. Well, they almost got beat by Tennessee. All right, with Tennessee, yeah, with Malik Willis at quarterback.
Right.
It wasn't even with Tannehill at quarterback. So they had to go to overtime to beat them. So, yes, I am very concerned that, man, I mean, and there's another reason, Randy. Why is that reason? We talk about it every week.
We see the man down there doing big things in Miami. I think just having a guy like Tyreek Hill missing in this offense, it impacts everything. offensively, the way that teams got to defend this offense, and the way that their defense had to go out there and play and defend more of the grass. But when you look at this offense, they acquired a guy from the New York Giants, Kadarius Toney, and he came in, he had a good game. He's been hobbled by injury. Miko Hartman, the speedster of this offense, he's on IR. So the question to you, Rex, as a defensive coordinator, who other than Travis Kelce offensively scares you? Who?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious, besides Kelce and
Patrick Mahomes, other than those two, who?
No, nobody. What, the left tackle? Like, no, they're just an average group of guys.
Well, the point that I'm making is that we've had all of this talk about them missing Tyreek Hill. What do they say? What has been said all season? Oh, they make up for it. They'll make up for it. Well, guess what happened last week? They didn't make up for it. So what I'm looking for today, hey, those wide receivers that they bought in, MVS, Schuster, those guys got to be able to step up. I just talked about Miko Hartman was a big key component to Tariq's absent with his speed, and now he's out. Who's going to step up for the Chiefs?
You know who they could really use? A guy plays for Philly. That would be A.J. Brown. He's at MetLife Stadium today. Let's get back out to New York, or I guess New Jersey, shall we? Maybe the Chiefs
across the river
should be